Here we go across the JAKIB Media YouTube channel, Football 24/7 with NFL insider John McMullen. Thursday night, Eagles back to work. We, of course, are live every Thursday night at Screwballs in King of Prussia. Great sports bar. Get out on Thursday night. It's our countdown to kickoff. Tonight here on Thursday night at Screwballs, we will, of course, be talking about Andy Reid and the return to the link. Also now added to that list, John McMullen, Shady McCoy, LaShawn McCoy, signing that or getting ready to or will sign tomorrow a one-day contract so he can officially retire as a Philadelphia Eagle, and fittingly so.
Yeah, and it makes a lot of sense with Andy coming in. Obviously, the greatest years of Shady's career happened under Andy Reid here in Philadelphia. Ultimately went for a little time, had a reunion in Kansas City where he didn't play a lot, but he won his first Super Bowl ring with Andy Reid in Kansas City. So they got to that Lombardi Trophy together. And ultimately goes out a winner too, because he was on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last year. Obviously, again, not a major part of the team, but after a great individual career, finishes it with 2 Super Bowl rings. Now he'll retire as a Philadelphia Eagle, and he'll be honored on Sunday at Lincoln Financial Field. Tomorrow before practice, he's going to talk to the media. So Shady McCoy, franchise's all-time leading rusher. You know, maybe you saw Monday night Krausey and he saw Miles Sanders get 2 carries and said, all right, that's it for me. Nobody runs the ball anymore.
Yeah, good. Perhaps. Not sure on that, Johnny Mac, but good stuff. Good thought. Good to see. Glad to see LaShawn and, of course, Andy Reid. We'll talk about that in a moment. Let's jump into, and I don't want to get lost in some of the external noise that's creating conversation all over the market before we jump into the team went back to work today. Practice. Set the table for us, John, so we understand it. Full practice today. Who's in, who's out? What did you see when you had a chance to observe the little bit that you did see?
Yeah, a full practice today, so back to normal in advance of Sunday's game after scaling back to a walkthrough yesterday on a short week. It was interesting. The injury report is not out yet. It'll be out in a few minutes. We are taping this at about a little bit after 4 in the afternoon, so that should be out relatively soon. You know, the big story today was yesterday, and I kind of created it. Yesterday, I asked Nick Sirianni about his guard situation with Isaac Seumalo being out for the season, and Brandon Brooks is expected back at some point. So I asked Nick if he wanted to make the move and switch Landon Dickerson from right guard to left guard, which is a little bit more natural of a position for him. He played more of that in college than right guard. And you can situate him there for the entire year because, you know, Isaac's not coming back, whereas Brandon Brooks is coming back. So thought process, in other words, if you keep Landon at right guard, you'd have to move a left guard when Brandon comes back. Maybe you want to get that started a little bit earlier. Nick Sirianni said he didn't want to answer that question essentially because he thinks he has a little bit of a competitive advantage. So the Eagles didn't want us reporting on who's going to start on the offensive line. And they didn't really have to say that because they mixed and matched so many different options. I couldn't tell you even if I wanted to who they're going to start at left guard and right guard. So they're playing a little bit of gamesmanship there. But I got to tell you, I don't think Andy Reid or Steve Spagnuolo care. You know, it's going to be from the group of Landon Dickerson, Nate Herbig, Sua Opeta, Jack Driscoll. It's going to be 2 of those 4 players. I don't think that's going to scare the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm just being honest.
Football 24/7 with John McMullen, presented by Stateside Vodka. Go to statesidevodka.com. Use the keyword JAKIB, like many of our viewers and subscribers, and get 15% off of a 1 liter bottle. We suggested yesterday on Football 24/7 that many people were going to Stateside Vodka after the game on Monday.
Gotta
We
go
put out there a
before.
suggestion to go before the game on Sunday, because if you listen to what your eyes tell you, you're scared to death about Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, and the Kansas City Chiefs. You're not scared of the defense. You're scared of the offense and just how many points they're going to score.
Yeah, and I think Kansas City is a angry team probably because, I think if we got to week 4 and you said the Eagles were going to be 1-2, you would say, okay, I'm glad they got one. Now, the way it shook out, people were upset because it looked like they had a really good chance to beat the San Francisco 49ers. They weren't able to do that. Obviously, you want to be more competitive than they were in Dallas, but I don't think anybody is surprised they lost that football game. The Chiefs, though, if I would have told you they would come in 1-2, you would have thought I was drinking a little too many stateside vodkas, Krausey.
Yeah, right.
This is a team that was talking about, they weren't talking about it, but, fans and Kansas City media were talking about, could this be the team to go 17-0? Could they do it? They've lost 2 games already. So this is a really, really talented team, obviously. They've made the past 2 Super Bowls. Tremendous offensive talent with the quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Mecole Hardman, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I mean, they can gash you from every different direction. Defense, as you mentioned, has not played well. This is like the bully who called you out at 3:00 in high school and he stubbed his toe. I said twice on the way to the fight. You don't want it. You don't want the angry bully. And the Eagles are not only getting the bully, they're getting the angry bully.
And the Eagles also come into this game, and I don't know if this is an accurate statement, and you'll definitely correct me if it's not. But the Eagles come into this game with more uncertainty now than when they went into the Atlanta game to open the season. And that was the key word that we talked about on the way into the start of the season. That phrase or that word, uncertainty. They appear to be more uncertain right now than the start of the year.
I don't know if I'd go that far. I think defensively, we know what they are. I think defensively now they're going to play a lot of zone. They're going to rely on their front 4, so we kind of know what they're going to do defensively. Offensively, I think we don't have any answers on the head coach as a play caller. I don't think we have many answers on the quarterback. Unfortunately, I think we're getting clearer answers on the wide receiver group, which are not positive, other than Quez Watkins. The offensive line decimated again by injury. More likely than not, they're going to be down 3 starters. Jordan Mailata not going to be able to go on Sunday in all likelihood, which is no surprise. So you're going to have Andre Dillard, and again, just speculation. It's going to be one of either 2 situations at guard. If Landon Dickerson, who by the way is also banged up, he's dealing with a hip injury and wasn't moving well when I saw him walking towards the locker room. He's going to start and play either left guard or right guard. If he plays left guard, I think you're probably going to see Jack Driscoll activated from injured reserve and play right guard. If Landon stays at right guard, I think you'll see Sua Opeta start at left guard. That's not as good as having Jordan Mailata, um, Isaac Sayamalo, and Brandon Brooks, to say the least.
Back to work, as you said today, Johnny Mack, which means Jalen Hurts was taken first team reps as expected because he is the starting quarterback. The question is, amongst the noise, how long of a rope or how long of a chance does Jalen Hurts get before people are looking at each other as to whether or not they have to make a change? Is it too premature for fans to be asking that question already?
Yeah, way too premature. I mean, remember, the backup quarterback is an aging veteran. You're trying to figure out what you have in a very young player who's got 7 career starts under his belt. The Eagles are not a Super Bowl contender. You would typically start talking about making a quarterback move if you thought you had a contender on your hand. You had to do something different. That's not the case here. You want to evaluate the player. Um, I think he's going to get the whole season unless it goes completely off the rails. And then way down the road, if that's the case, you might see some Gardner Minshew. And this is all, of course, injuries can change that. But I'm talking about, if you're talking about healthy players, Jalen Hurts is going to be the starting quarterback of this team until um, they decide what to do long term. And that's, we bring up the Deshaun Watson name, doesn't want to play here. So you don't have to bring it up until he changes his mind. You don't even have to have that conversation. Um, or the draft next year. And obviously, that is something to talk about after the season. But, just after week 1, I told people they got too excited, settle down. He's going to have some struggles, going to have some hiccups. After week 3, I'm going to tell him the same thing. Settle down. He's a young quarterback. He's going to make mistakes. The goal is to figure out, can he correct those mistakes? Can he get better along the way?
And we're live here, of course. I'm live, rather, at Screwballs and King of Prussia. It's our Thursday night countdown to kickoff. By the way, if you're from the Philadelphia region and you can make it out to Screwballs tonight, we're giving away 4 more seats on our bus trip down to Washington on January 2nd. What a great trip it was 2 years ago. The bus trip returns. And we're giving away 4 seats tonight in our 2021 season of experiences across the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. So for all of our viewers and subscribers, like, share, subscribe. And if you're local, get out to Screwballs on one of these tonight or one of these upcoming Thursday nights. John, there is always that conversation or the point that is made that the head coach needs to put his quarterback in a position to succeed. What does that mean? What does Nick have to do so Jalen can be at his best?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of torn on that. I think you saw Jalen at his best in week 1 against Atlanta. But I'm not sure that's what you want. Um, the lack of air yardage we talked about, the lack of throwing the football down the field in that week 1. A lot of people gave Nick Sirianni credit for scheming him up, masking those deficiencies. Look, if you want your coach to mask the deficiencies of your quarterback to that degree, you got to go get a different quarterback. So, from my standpoint, you don't hear about Andy Reid masking the deficiencies of Patrick Mahomes or Matt LaFleur masking the deficiencies of Aaron Rodgers, on and on and on. Bruce Arians isn't talking about limiting Tom Brady, who's you know, 116 years old and still winning Super Bowls. If you have to mask the deficiencies of a quarterback, scheme up a quarterback, you don't have your quarterback. So if the Eagles feel that way, that's fine. If the Eagles feel that way and they want to get through this season, all right, tell Nick Sirianni that, let him scheme him up, go back to the week one mentality with the understanding this is not going to be our quarterback moving forward. We're going to go in a different direction after the season. I don't think the Eagles are at that point. I don't think the Eagles should be at that point.
Football 24/7 with John McMullen across the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. As we bring you an update on practice today, they go back to work today, first day of the week in full regalia, in full workout after a unscheduled walkthrough yesterday. What does that mean for the rest of the week, John? Walkthrough tomorrow? What does it mean?
Yeah, well, always Friday. So basically, the only thing they shifted around in the short week was Wednesday. Now we're back on a regular schedule. They'll have a walkthrough. Focus Friday, as Nick Sirianni likes to call it. Very small practice, generally about 40, 50 minutes at the most. And then obviously Saturday you regroup, and Sunday you play football at Lincoln Financial Field. So typical game week, except for Wednesday, where they scaled back from the full practice to the walkthrough. And that was because of the Monday night game and them getting back at 5 in the morning on Tuesday. Just felt it was more important to keep the players fresh and ready to go.
What do you feel? What do you sense, John, being down at NovaCare? You know, you can tell when there's a sway or, you know, when there's a mood change, or does it feel like it's business as normal for this team?
I think they're a little bit shook after Monday night. More, I would say, the coaching staff than the players. I do find the players tend to be in awe of certain players: Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, most notably. You know, I saw this back when they first started. It was sort of like the pilot for Hard Knocks, and it was they followed the Dallas Cowboys and Minnesota Vikings leading up to a game, and I was covering the Vikings at the time, and I remember watching really good players. Roy Barker, who ended up being a 10-sack guy in San Francisco, being in awe of players like Eric Williams and Emmitt Smith and Troy Aikman, Michael Irvin. It was that group of Cowboys. And I'm like, that's not good. That's not a good thing to be in awe of your opponents. I got that same kind of feel from some of the Eagles this week about the Patrick Mahomeses, the Tyreek Hill, specifically Travis Kelce, those three players. That's never a good thing.
One of the other storylines, and there are a few storylines leading into the game on Sunday. Travis Kelce, as you mentioned, and Jason Kelce, the brothers get back at it again on the same field. I don't know how many times now they've actually ended up playing against each other, but two good Kelce brothers, two good Pro Bowl players. One for the Eagles, one for the Chiefs. One has more Pro Bowl appearances than the other, but they're both great players.
Yeah, they are. I know it's always interesting when the Kelces get together because they both have such great personalities as well. Real quick, I just got the injury report though. Jordan Mailata is the only player who didn't practice, and obviously He's not going to play Sunday, so don't concern yourself with that. Landon Dickerson, I mentioned with the hip. Marcus Epps has a shoulder injury. Lane Johnson's dealing with his ankle. Jason Kelsey, who we just talked about, has a bit of a foot issue. Rodney McLeod, we know, rehabbing from the knee. Davion Taylor with his calf injury. All those players I just mentioned practiced in full. So even though that means they're on track.
Johnny Mack, when I hear the name, when I hear Lane Johnson, and of course Lane Johnson joins us on the live post-game show every week. When I hear Lane Johnson's name mentioned and I hear ankle, I say, oh. But is it just precautionary? What's he dealing with?
No, I mean, Lane has been honest, and, it's going to be sore for the rest of his career. It just is. It was that type of significant. Remember, he had two surgeries. He had a tightrope surgery, which was an attempt to get him through last season. It didn't work, and then he had to have essentially a more reconstructive surgery. And he feels much better, but there's always swelling. There's always a little bit of discomfort. So, as a veteran player, and as I said, the full practice is an indication he's going to play. They're just trying to manage him, sort of like they were doing with Brandon Brooks earlier this season. Manage him during the week to get him to game day. And that's what you do with veteran players who are a little bit banged up.
John, how serious is the Mailata injury?
I was told it was the least serious knee sprain. So you have grade 1 up to grade 4. I always get mixed up. I think grade 1 is the most least significant. Um, Either way, uh, he has the least significant, so the best kind of knee sprain. But even that is minimum 2 week injury. Um, so this will be 2 weeks. You start to look for maybe a possibility of him returning um, week 5 in Carolina. Um, but it could be a few more weeks depending on how he handles the rehab, the pain, and things like that. But very rarely are you going to come back that quickly from a knee sprain, and certainly not after. The Eagles want to be very protective of Jordan Mailata. They just invested a lot of money in him as the future left tackle. The last thing you want to do is jump the gun, put him back on the field before he's completely healthy. And oh, by the way, Andre Dillard was one of the few positives in Dallas. Played pretty well. So let him go out there again against Kansas City. Better pass rusher, Frank Clark. Maybe you start to build back up his reputation, and maybe you can spin him off at the trade deadline. So maybe it's a silver lining.
Football 24/7 with NFL insider John McMullen across the JAKIB Media YouTube channel, all presented by Stateside Vodka. It's our daily or nightly report, depending on when you're consuming content that Johnny is providing from practice today. Before we jump out of here, Johnny Mack, what is your reasonable expectation, of Sunday? Is there a chance? Will this team be
Well,
in
there's
it
always a
and
chance.
have that? But is there a realistic chance?
Well, I wouldn't bet on it. Let's put it that way. If you're going to say where am I going to put my money on the money line, it's the Kansas City Chiefs. But this is not college football where certain teams will use Xander's favorite team, Alabama. Alabama's going to win certain weeks. Anybody can beat you in the NFL. Everybody's got good players. The Eagles would have to play near a perfect game, do everything correctly, have a good game plan. That game plan better not be to outscore the Kansas City Chiefs, like Nick Sirianni wanted to do against Dallas. Don't try that route. You probably got to run the football, keep the football out of the hands of Patrick Mahomes in that offense. Really, really small margin for error. Really small. Yeah, this is just a better team, better coaching, better personnel, superstar quarterback. It's tough. It's a tough road. And by the way, they're upset and angry over a slow start.
Last thought from Johnny Mack. Will they start to use Dallas Goedert and Zach Ertz more in this game than they have in the first three?
Well, they don't seem to want to throw the ball in the middle of the field. I thought they got Dallas, had a couple big plays in Dallas, really Arlington, North Texas. But I just don't think they're going to be a high volume completion team at this stage. And part of that is the quarterback. Part of that is the way they play offense with all the RPOs. And you're not going to throw many RPOs to tight ends. So I don't know if you're going to see the volume you probably want to see to the tight ends.
Well, just a quick follow up on that. Then how do you control the ball? How do you control time? How do you manage enough of the game so your defense can not be gassed by the third quarter?
Well, Eagles are going to love this, Eagle fans. Turn it back to 1985. Run the football. Run the football and run it successfully. Now, that's not a recipe for long term success in the modern NFL, but we're not talking about long term success. We're talking about not being run off the field against perhaps the most explosive offense in the NFL. How do you keep them down? Don't give them the football. It's the only way.
Football 24/7 with NFL insider John McMullen across the JAKIB Media YouTube channel, all presented by Stateside Vodka. Johnny, right back on Birds 365 tomorrow morning with Jody Mack, correct?
Correct. Back on Birds 365 with Jody Mack tomorrow morning. Then it's off to practice, and then got a little respite on Saturday and down to Lincoln Financial Field bright and early Sunday morning.
Well, an open invitation. I said to Jody Mack that getting John McMullen out to screwballs on a Thursday night would be extremely challenging because of the work, because of practice and everything going on down in South Philadelphia. But I do expect your sidekick. I do expect Jody Mack.
Jody's going to be at Screwballs.
And we're hoping that you are too. I said to Jody, I'll send over the Uber Black and pick up both. But that's next Thursday night is what we're planning. But we want to try and work it around the ability for you to be here. So I don't know how that plays out unless you would leave South Philadelphia on a practice day and then come straight out to what is a great spot in King of Prussia, and we'll have plenty of great food for you and all kinds of good stuff. And it's a great crowd that gathers, Johnny Mack, here at Screwballs every Thursday night.
Who's doing the show tonight, Krausey? Who's doing the show tonight?
I am here tonight. Luigi is joining me, and the self-professed king of the coaching world, Henry Racich. So the three of us tonight will do Countdown the Kickoff. Special appearance by the Philly Godfather will join us as we look ahead, because the Eagles now going into that game, by the way, I believe are 7.5 or 8 point home dogs in that game on Sunday. So we'll get the betting line from the Philly Godfather. But John, always a packed house on a Thursday night. It's just a lot of good fun. So look forward to it when you can do it. Love to get the Birds 365 crew out here. It'll be a lot of fun.
Bye week. We'll definitely do it on the bye week. We know that.
Yeah, that's good stuff. All right, good stuff. John McMullen, thank you so much. Football 24/7 with NFL insider John McMullen across the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until we see you again, on behalf of John McMullen, I'm Joe Krause. See you next time, everybody.